Okay, I'm wearing this hat for Joe Primal. He can appreciate this. Look like a local bank robber. I got a video that's going to go up before this one. You've probably seen it already. Me making a jackass out of myself with a firearm. Went out and shot these 5.56. Took the empties. And today I reloaded them. And what I used, this is the big video I wanted to do, but what I used was the, let me see here, Lee Loader Classic. This thing's probably 110 years old. Okay, they're much nicer looking now, better setup. But this would be the to me, this would be the cheapest way to get into reloading right here. Okay, it's one of your options. My mom actually got me this at a yard sale. That's a good kind of mom to have. This particular one, it did not have the load data, which tells you how much powder you're going to put to push a specific type of bullet, grain weight and all that. And I think there's even a piece missing. But I had enough stuff there, and I kind of know how to do it anyway. So I had enough pieces there to get these rounds together. So I had 9 or 10 empties, reloaded those today. They were really smooth. And reason I was going to show you how I did it, but there's a whole bunch of videos to show you how these things work, and I don't want to waste time with that. But this thing here, I think these brand new are like 35 bucks. Cabela's, Amazon, eBay. eBay might be the better deal. Okay, I'm actually going to buy one of these for every caliber that I have. Okay, I was really impressed with this. Now, what I have not done, I loaded these today, but I couldn't get my camera to operate. That was a battery issue. So, and I was going to show you how I was loading them. It's not very exciting or anything, but I have not shot them yet. I have not ran them through the rifle yet. But I don't think there's really going to be any kind of, it's fairly simple. I wasn't too keen on the way if it was crimping correctly. In other words, once you've had that bullet placed in there, you want this crimped in such a way where it hangs onto the bullet as long as it can, builds pressure, burns all that powder, and then blasts it out of there. And I don't think that's going to be an issue. But like I said, I did not have the directions with this thing, so I might have skipped a step. I might have the tool I need in there. But when I fire these, I'll do a video on that and show what the end result is. Then I'll do an inventory of what the whole thing cost me. So far, it's been very little. But a couple of ways where this saves, okay? Let's say first you don't have 500 bucks to go get in all the fancy gear, okay? You need a micrometer to measure certain aspects of your round, okay? Diameters, lengths, and all that. They got to meet a certain dimension, which is in your load data, okay? Your load data is a book you're going to buy. It's going to be 2 or 3. You should have 2 or 3 of them, okay? There's the various ones where you can kind of compare some things. They're $29, they're $59, okay? You can get your load data offline or online, okay? So I went online, I looked at the powder I was using, which in this case is IMR, which I think now is sold by Hodgson. Okay, IMR 4320 is what I got. I went online, I punched in, I'm using a 55 grain bullet, and I got my load data. Okay, 23 grains starting and all this. There's 2 things you cannot redneck or cheapen or cut corners on when it comes to loading. One is your load data. Okay, you don't have to buy the book, but you've got to follow the recipe. You don't screw around with that. If it's 23.1 grains to 27.4 grains, you need to be at that or in between. That's your parameters, okay? You're at the low starting end or you're at the max end. You don't go beyond that, okay? That's dangerous. But you have these parameters. You want to stay in between these positions. And then you want to load every bolt the same. The other aspect besides loading data is how you measure this stuff, okay? There's some mechanical things you can get that'll cut some corners as far as measuring. But really, you can get a digital scale for about 25 bucks. I'd spend what you can, get a good one. I got this on Amazon. I actually got this pretty cheap, but so far it works out pretty good. Do not screw around. I mean, I joke around when I try to redneck everything. Don't redneck this. You've got to measure this stuff correctly, okay? And you've got to have your load data, okay? But you can get your load data online. It won't cost you anything. The books are very expensive, but you've got, and what load data is if I take this bullet, it's a full metal jacket, okay? It's a 55 grain bullet, specifically I'm using for a 5.56. I go to the company that supplies the powder, whichever company I'm dealing with. It might be IMR, it could be Acura, or one of these other ones. I go to their web page and I punch in the caliber I'm dealing with, 5.56 or 223 is what it is. And punch in, it's a full metal jacket, it's a 55 grain bullet, and it'll give me how much powder, what my starting and my max powder amounts are. You've got to have that. We can't screw that around. So let's say you spent $35, 30 bucks on a really good measure scale. You don't want to cut corners there. Then you might spend another. These are like 29, but let's say with shipping it was like 35 bucks. Okay, we didn't get the micrometer for measuring. We're just going to measure it next to this bullet. Okay, eyeball it, which I don't think is too bad, and we're getting in pretty cheap. Okay, we're still under 100 bucks without. You're going to spend 35 bucks typically, 25 to 35 bucks on the powder. 100 bullets could cost you 20 bucks. Your casings, another thing, like I don't know if I said this already, don't buy new casings. Go out and buy some good quality. This is Winchester 5.56. Take them out on the weekend and shoot them, and then reload these. They've already been annealed. You've got to clean them up. You just run through some steel wool. I don't know if I said that already. I took the rounds that I shot for the previous video and I ran them through steel wool, just like this. Spun them around, you know. There's a little tool. You'll clean out the little peephole there for your primer. No big deal. But otherwise you got to buy a tumbler. You know, tumbler's going to cost you 35, 40 bucks plus the media you can put into it. So we're not getting the tumbler, we're not getting the micrometer at this level. All right. I think this thing worked beautifully. All right. If you start out this way, I said you're into this for under $100 easy. All right. And very simple to use, real handy. If you say, hey, I want to go further with this, then you'll jump into a press. You know, single action press or a turret, and you can start spending some money then. But then you'll know for sure if you want to continue doing something like this. There's another handheld type that they have. I think Lee makes it, and it might be like 35 bucks, but you have to buy the die for your caliber. So you buy this part here. It's the press action of it. Then you go buy, which could be 35 bucks. You go buy a die for the caliber you're dealing with, which could be 40, 50, 60 bucks. They're not cheap. But now what you can do is you can use the same press and just add different dies to it. Okay? I don't know if I'd go with that. If I'm going to go that far, I'm going to get a press. I'm going to get a hand press. Something you'd mount on a table. So for handheld, to me, this is just, you can't beat it. Okay? Like I said, I haven't fired them yet. I don't see there's going to be any trouble there. But by not starting out with brand new brass, we saved a few bucks. By not getting the micrometer at this stage, we saved 35, 40 bucks. But you would get one down the road. We did not get the tumbler. We cleaned it by hand, saved another 35 or 40 bucks. And the load data we pulled offline. And even, here's the other thing too. If you were going to get serious into your loading, you get these load data books. They're like Bibles. They're about, you know, hundreds of pages. You might only own 2 calibers. I mean, like, there's hundreds of calibers in this thing. Unless you're going to go shoot, jackalopes in some other country somewhere. A lot of these calibers you'll never even come in contact with. So really, as long as you know the company you're dealing with, and as long as they have a web page, which they all do, and they all have the load data out there, you just go directly to them and get your load data. As long as you keep, you can download this stuff, and you know, because the weight, as the weight of the bullet changes, let's say you're shooting a 55 and then you want to go shoot a 62 grain, you got to change your load data. Your recipe changes. You're going to add more powder or less powder. And if you change brands of powder, it's a different load. Not complicated, but you gotta follow the recipe. We don't screw around there. But at this stage, I don't know if I've really missed anything here. Recommendation, like I said, they've got these on eBay. They're coming in a plastic case now, or whatever the case is. They have the load data. They have a scoop, so you don't necessarily have to weigh it. Okay, but I would still get the scale. You can't beat the scale. That way you can if you don't have the load data for the powder you're using, you can still get by. But if you got this, let's see, this is 35 bucks. This is 35 bucks. And I mean, your gear itself, I mean, that's a 70 bucks. So I don't think I've spent on anything else. Now you're going to spend your money on bullets and powder and primers. Okay, that's, you know, you set yourself up there. That could easily cost you 100 bucks. But just depends on how you go. Starting, you know, with your shot, buying actual bullets, taking them out, shoot them, and then coming to reload these is way cheaper. Starting out that way. I'm trying to think if I forgot anything. I'm going to do another video on this after I shoot them, and I'll have it laid out with a little more inventory. But like I said, so far, this little Lee Classic, I'm going to buy one for every caliber I have. Okay? And like you said, you can't... this is a die in itself, whereas the other machines, you're going to buy a die, and you can just, your same machine you could use for your 30-30, your 38, your 9mm, your 5.56 or whatever. You're just changing dies out of it. And dies aren't cheap, but that's when you see these guys with that lever pull, the old, you know, rock checkers and all that, they're just moving dies in and out of that thing. That's how they're handling different calibers. Handgun, you know, rifle and all that stuff. But this, in my opinion, great way to start. Excellent way to start. I would not hesitate to buy one of these, whether it's your handgun, rifle, whatever. Look at eBay has tons of these, and so does Cabela's. I'm going to shut up on that, and we'll do another one once I shoot them.